Hi teachers, on behalf of the District Central Office team, the Curriculum Department, and Building Administration, I want to thank you for all of your efforts in putting together the curriculum units. We know how much time went into having the conversations, gathering resources, and just having conversations about good instruction. The purpose of this podcast is to archive the feedback which you're about ready to receive. The feedback is based on an evaluation of each curriculum unit, and the evaluation of each unit is compared to previously established rubrics and district look-fors. We hope you accept this feedback as constructively as it is meant to be. We understand this is a new process for you, as it is a new process for all of us. I think it is an important part of the process in ensuring a quality curriculum is delivered to our students on a daily basis. Please join me in making this the premier district in the state by first creating a quality curriculum.
Hi, this is Todd Culbertson, your friendly curriculum director, and I'm here today to talk to you about our math curriculum review.
Todd, I got this. Thank you to the first grade team for working so hard on your ELA and math units. As we make strides toward the Common Core state standards, you are an instrumental part in ensuring that we are delivering quality and rigorous instruction to our students. We all know how transient our population can be, so it is vital that we are all on the same page with our curriculum. The goal of the unit development is that it is consistent instruction that can be delivered with fidelity by not only a veteran teacher, but a first-year teacher as well. We will begin our unit reviews with the math unit.
As an administrative team, we've reviewed the first grade mathematics curriculum. We reviewed 8 different areas and provided you with feedback. Please know that curriculum is an ongoing process, and as administrators, we are learning and improving the curriculum just as you are. After reviewing the mathematics curriculum, we found that it consistently addressed what were considered the non-negotiables. These included the 8 mathematical practices, the essential learner outcomes in critical areas, student engagement, vocabulary instruction, differentiated instruction, feedback to the student, and performance tasks. Overall, the curriculum met the following objectives with consistency. The depth of knowledge levels are aligned with instructional activities and assessments. However, and this will be addressed later, we would like to see more activities that are at the 3 and 4 level of DOK. The CS standards were taught and assessed. If the curriculum was given to other educators along with the Pearson text, it would be considered discernible to educators that had never taught the curriculum. The strength of this curriculum is that it is very clear and concise and follows the Pearson math text closely. Since this is a work in progress, we hope to give you some helpful suggestions in order to improve what has already begun as a very useful guide to all district teachers. List Quick Check as a formative assessment, Pearson as a resource, and include performance events with assessments. Also, we would recommend that you check the rubric for the 8 mathematical practices to ensure that all activities are falling into that proficient and exemplary columns. Along with our feedback, we have included the rubric that includes the depth of knowledge chart.
The sheet that you see here is our 8 mathematical practices checklist. So when we were going through the topics that you wrote in all of the units, we checked to see that all of the 8 mathematical practices were represented. So as far as this first one goes, the operations and algebraic thinking, number 1, we looked and we saw that it was assessed or taught in that unit, and then we looked over and we saw that all 8 mathematical practices were aligned to that topic. When we look down at algebraic thinking and operations number 4, we noticed that only 5 of them were addressed. That's okay because those are hit on in other units as well. Now, what we do want to point out is that up here at the top, it says that if we put our check mark here, it needs practice. This is emerging, this is proficient, and this is exemplary. We were unable to tell which one we should check underneath there because we could not discern what the actual instructional activities were from the topic explanations. So without that information, we could not make our check mark here. However, if you look down at the other rubric, this rubric actually allows you to put check marks here and find out where you are, as far as if you need improvement, you're emerging, you're proficient or exemplary. As Mr. Clark indicated, we'd like to make sure that you're really in this proficient or exemplary column, but you know your activities and we don't. So you'll need to look at those activities and decide which column you're in. If you find yourself in needing improvement, we're really going to need you to move over to at least the emerging, but like I said, we'd really like to see you in the proficient or exemplary column. Now, what can help you to do that is looking at your depth of knowledge levels. So when you look at the depth of knowledge, please make sure that you're not just searching for these verbs. When you find these verbs, it actually, you could throw a verb in there, but yet you're really not at that level. So we want to make sure that the activities that you're doing actually go along with those verbs, and they give you some examples at the bottom of that sheet.
Now we're going to go through topic 1 of the first unit so that we can get a clear understanding of additional changes that we would like to see taking place to increase the opportunity for instruction with fidelity throughout the unit. The first page is obviously the course introduction, followed by the standards for mathematical practices, the scope and sequence, unit description, and suggested timeline. These areas all were finished with great detail. The first area we'd like to focus on is strategies for meeting the needs of all learners. In parentheses there we see struggling students, gifted students, IEP students, and ELL students. You did an excellent job of outlining Pearson SuccessNet in the first paragraph and guiding teachers to areas in which Pearson you can find their suggestions for struggling students, gifted students, IEP students, and ELL students. However, we would like to know other strategies that we know work within our district outside of Pearson, because we know Pearson's not the end-all be-all. So what other specific strategies could we do, and specifically list, this works well for a struggling student who needs practice in a certain area. As far as our diverse learners go, the same type of strategies as well we'd like to know. Be specific to these strategies so that if I were to be the teacher of this first year classroom and I had students of varieties of needs, I would be able to address all of those needs, and it would be practice that we know works within our district. We follow that with the essential learner outcomes and the vocabulary. The measurable objectives, the learning goals from the CAS, the process standards and mathematical practices all align. Again, as Mrs. Porter addressed earlier, we would like for the DOK levels to move from a level 1 to a level 2, a 2 to 3, or a 3 to 4. And again, the DOK chart is available. We also know that Pearson references DOK within their lessons, but we need to be thinking at all times, in what ways can I make this lesson applicable to my students in their everyday life, and in which ways can I add rigor to my instruction. As we get down to the assessment portion after the measurable objectives, again, we've referenced Pearson. We know common assessments are yet to come, but don't forget when we're talking about formative assessments, Pearson offers a daily check to help us guide our daily instruction in the form of a quick check. So don't forget to list the quick check as a possible formative assessment for a teacher to be able to use to get to know their students' abilities better. Also, list the DOK levels that will be taking place in the assessments. Pearson offers a variety of different assessments within each topic. Either list each one of those out or specifically refer to that Pearson assessment you're going to use. Also, we did not notice in any of the units a performance assessment being utilized. On the page that we spoke to earlier, that Mr. Clark spoke to, we did on that rubric page mark that there would be performance assessments because we do know that Pearson provides performance assessments. However, they were never specifically addressed within our unit. The area where we'd like to see the most information added to allow for quality instruction would be the area of instructional activities. You list objectives numbers as all. What we would like to see happen is for you to list the specific objective. So for instance, here we'd like to see objective 1 and whichever topic that may be. So let's say objective 1 is topic 1.1. We would like for it to say Pearson topic 1.1, the name of the lesson, and then within that in parentheses, these activities can be added so that they could be copy and pasted to objective 2, lesson 1.2. We really want this to be exactly what you're going to do each day with your students. So within the addressing of objective 1, What are you going to do during that instructional period to maximize student achievement and student learning? The instructional strategies, in parentheses here, it reminds us to be research-based, and it lists some examples of the research. What are you going to do as the teacher? These are all aligned with research, so that was a great job there. If there's anything that you add to the instructional activities at the top, just ensure that the instructional activities, that you've got strategies to help an educator understand exactly what to do. Under unit resources, the first unit resource that should be listed in each topic would be the PearsonSuccessNet.com, and making sure that it references the Common Core version of PearsonSuccessNet.com and not the original version that was purchased with our math series. Other things to add, roll them and add them. Most of us probably know that we're going to roll dice, add them together to come up with the sum. But a quick description of these activities would be helpful, because as a first-year teacher, maybe I'm not familiar with roll them and add them or color by sum. And also, you do a fabulous job of listing several websites and apps that could be used within the classroom. But are there other resources that we could use to supplement this unit that do not require technology? Because we all know technology is great, but there are times and cases that we either don't have an iPad to give to every child, or we don't have enough computers, or the technology just isn't currently working. So what other resources could I use as a teacher? Addition, subtraction, flashcards, any type of thing that would help students increase their skills. We also liked that you included books with each of your units. Ready, Set, Hop, Jack the Builder, Animals on Board. We're just asking that your books, if you could tell us specifically which objective these resources would be most helpful with. I would hate to be teaching topic 1.7 and reading Jack the Builder when I should have maybe done that with lesson 1.2. So if you could give a little description and tell us specifically what objectives that would meet, that would help increase the depth of knowledge that I as an educator would have as I picked this up to read it. And kind of like at the beginning when we talked about the strategies for the different learners in our classroom, here we asked for resources for differentiated instruction, and we have refer to differentiated instruction page in your Pearson manual. That's great, but again, Pearson isn't the end-all be-all. So when we think about our students, what are things that we know work within our classrooms? And just some comments that we had made, because they're listed the same on each. Are there other ideas that are geared towards individual groups of students? And even does targeted students and achieving students, does that instruction look the same? Because if I read this in the differentiated instruction, it is the same. So we know that doesn't look the same, and we know that you know it doesn't look the same. So what specifically do we need to put in there so that we know there is a difference? And it's called differentiated instruction. And the same type of comment for the IEP and the ELL. The difference there is refer to the IEP or the case manager, or refer to the ELL instructor for additional resources. What other resources do we know? We've all had a child with an IEP in our classroom. Some of us have had students that are ELL within our classroom. What strategies were most successful for those students? So if we could include those in our unit as well. And then the acronym guide at the back looks great. Overall, we very much appreciate your hard work and your dedication that you put into this. We can tell that you've spent a lot of time and worked very diligently on these units. We think with a little bit of tweaking, we can increase the life of this living document and make it a great starting point. Thank you.